collaboration with the Cyprus Mail. This is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Charalambous.
Coming up this week, more drownings bring calls for a change to the way Cyprus lifeguards operate.
We tell to the people to go to the beach after 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and most of our towers close and the lifeguards end of duty at 5 o'clock.
Slovakia takes over the presidency of the European Council at a tumultuous time.
Of course, it's definitely clear that Brexit, as well as migration, will be dominating in our agenda during the forthcoming period, during our presidency.
The British Council releases a report on the morning after the Brexit.
And we asked them to deliberate about what steps need to be taken for the EU-UK cultural relationship to be strengthened in the future.
And Porsche takes to Cypriot roads.
People can really drive the cars in a way that you can feel the agility and the performance.
There have been more drownings off the coast of Cyprus, 3 in a week recently. And a lot of it is to do with the fact that lifeguards on our beaches work only between 10 in the morning and 5 p.m. What's more, during June, not all public beaches have lifeguards at all. Joining us on the programme this week is the president of the Cyprus Life-Saving Association, Bolis Balikaros. Bolis, what exactly is the problem here? We have these stories almost every year, and we have had for the last at least 10 or 15 years. And I thought that there were moves afoot, not only for lifeguards to be on our beaches during winter months sometimes, but also during summer for extended hours, because when it's as hot as it's been this last few weeks, people don't go to the beach before 5 o'clock. A lot of them go for a morning swim or an evening swim, and that seems to be where the problem lies.
And that's exactly what we suggest to the people at Cyprus Life-Saving Federation. We suggest to the people that don't go to the sun between 12 o'clock until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's dangerous. So we tell to the people to go to the beach after 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and most of our towers close and the lifeguards end of duty at 5 o'clock.
Who's responsible for defining these hours? Why don't they work until, say, 7 p.m?
You can say that the main reason is economic, but the ministry responsible is the Ministry of Interior, through the district officers, and through, in some cases, to the town halls, to the mayors. If we speak about Famagusta, the town halls hire the lifeguards and put the hours and where we have lifeguards and where we don't have, and so and so. If we speak for Limassol or Larnaca or Paphos, the district commissioner hired the lifeguards and decides the hours and where they're going to put the lifeguards.
It seems a little silly that we have different people in charge of a single activity. Does it mean that in Famagusta area, Ayanapa and so on, you have lifeguards at different times from the rest of the island?
Of course.
Because then how do people know when there's a lifeguard?
That's the situation we have in Cyprus, and the only solution is to have a law, then by the law to say that those beaches have to have lifeguards at those hours, how many lifeguards in the law, and no one can do something different from the law.
And do you agree with me that this should not purely be July, August, September or whatever? I mean, we have the weather all round. We're trying to get tourists to come here in the winter. Shouldn't we have a standardised procedure on all our public beaches so that people know that there is somebody there in case someone gets into trouble?
One of our major incomes in Cyprus is from tourism. And we want to have tourists also in winter. The weather is fine in winter in Cyprus.
And the sea is warm enough to swim in.
And we have beaches in Cyprus that are protected for the winter for swimming. even though for that beaches we don't have lifeguards.
So we need, you say, a new law.
Of course.
What about the reaction of the Ministry of the Interior? Are they in a position to say, OK, we need one single authority dealing with this? I mean, it could come under the beaches committees, couldn't it? They surely should be responsible for everything on the beaches.
We're in communication with the Minister of Interior, and we believe that in a year maybe we have a law. But we have problems today. And the only solution for today is to have a memo from the minister to say to the district commissioners that you have to have lifeguards from 9 o'clock in the morning until 7 o'clock in the afternoon. It's something we can do now.
So
we had 2 drownings last week. We have not only 2, but for those 2. The first one was at 5:19 in the afternoon, and the lifeguard ended the work at 5 o'clock. The second one was on a beach with no lifeguard duty. That's because the local authorities there decide that they need lifeguard only for July and August. So we allow for the local authorities or for the mayors or for, I don't know, persons to decide whether they are going to put lifeguards and what hours they are going to work. That's completely wrong. That must be from the Minister of Interior by a memo, by an order in brackets.
So if he does that tomorrow, could we see lifeguards all at the same time on these beaches? Do we have enough lifeguards?
We have enough lifeguards, that depends. If they want to get more lifeguards, yes, we have lifeguards and they can get more.
But otherwise, do we have enough? They'll work longer hours. Are they willing to do that?
Of course they are willing to do that. We have lifeguards that they stop working at 5 o'clock, but they don't leave the tower because they see too many people. And by their own, they decide to stay another hour, or I don't know. We have that in Cyprus.
And we had a case with one of the drownings, I think, last week in the Limassol area, where an off-duty lifeguard actually opened the tower to get the life-saving equipment out, but
Yes.
the delay because he wasn't actually on duty in the tower meant that the lady died.
He was not on the tower, he was at the cafeteria next because his work was end 5 o'clock. And he heard about the incident, someone told him about the incident, he ran, he opened the tower, take the equipment, but we had that delay to find the lifeguard, go to the tower, open the tower, take the equipment and go to the incident. That delay maybe cost
the
a
lady
life.
her life.
Yes.
So your message to the Minister is obviously to get on this now and not delay. You would think that with so many sad incidents in the last few days, last week or so, that it would be a priority. Have you spoken to him since these drownings?
I sent him 3 letters last week.
And have you had a reply?
Not yet. But I'm in contact with the employees of the ministry and with the general manager of the minister.
So let's hope there are no more drownings, and at least during July some of those hours are extended somewhat, and some of the beaches that do not otherwise have lifeguards will be watched by lifeguards during at least July and August. It probably is worth checking if you're going swimming that you are on a beach that has a lifeguard, and in the Paphos area, of course, there are those dreadful rip currents, so you do need to follow the instructions there and hopefully have a safe swimming summer.
Keep up to date with events in Cyprus and around the world with the Cyprus News Digest.
Slovakia has just taken over the presidency of the Council of Europe. For the next 6 months, it, if you like, is in charge of the EU. At a tumultuous time, it has to be said, and I don't know if you're aware, but usually there's a trio of presidencies who work together for the smooth handover. Joining us on the programme this week is Her Excellency Oksana Tomova, who is the Slovakian ambassador to Nicosia, to tell us about the priorities of the next 6 months. Oksana, It's a very tumultuous time. I'm wondering first whether or not the trio has actually had to change some of the priorities in light of the Brexit, which I'm sure wasn't on the agenda when you first started planning, but it most certainly is now.
It was the first topic which has been discussed with our partners within the EU, whether we should modify our priorities, which have been prepared a few months ago. And of course, within the trio also, we were working very hard together with the Netherlands and Malta in order to prepare the long-standing projects or long-term projects for the near future. But there is very clear signal that we should continue with the same attitude, with the same approach. Of course, it's definitely clear that Brexit as well as migration will be dominating in our agenda during the forthcoming period, during our presidency. I would like to say that for Slovakia it's the first presidency, historically for the first time after 12 years of our membership of the EU. Slovakia is assuming the presidency. It's very challenging. And again, I need to say that we are assuming the presidency in a very challenging time.
So the main priorities are what? Because you did set out priorities, I think, when you spoke yesterday in Nicosia to outline the presidency. Let's start with what the original priorities were and maybe how they've changed.
Yes. Of course, we are going to focus on 4 areas. And first of all, we want to make or to insist in order to make European economy stronger. The second priority is to modernize and broaden the single market, what is absolutely very important and very, very important agenda for all of us in areas such as energy and the digital economy. And of course, we need to work towards sustainable migration and asylum policy and to contribute to the global engagement of Europe. But I would like to also strengthen that we will be guiding by certain principles. And the first one is we wish to deliver tangible results. It's very much expected that the forthcoming presidency will be able to deliver results. It's very important to show or to bring direct benefits for daily lives of citizens in Europe. And of course, we try to overcome fragmentation. What I said before, we want to contribute to connecting member states more closely in the area of single market. And we must find or we must search for solutions acceptable for all member states and what is beneficial for the Union as a whole. And it's very relevant, of course, for the area of migrants or migration crisis. And we want to focus on people. This is very important. We will focus on the needs of citizens because they must be in the center of our attention.
It's very difficult, though, isn't it, to focus on the needs of so many diverse citizens, and the fragmentation you spoke of has been very much to the fore when it comes to the discussion of migration policy. So how is Slovakia going to diplomatically bring those nations who have very differing views together to form a common policy? It's a tall order.
This is very crucial, and it is not only about the EU presidency, not only Slovakia will be insisting in order to achieve certain goals, but it's about all member states. This is very important, and I also emphasized it during the presentation of our priorities on Monday at the EU House, that instead to use the very bureaucratic language which is used by European institutions in Brussels, to replace it by very understandable language. It means that this is very important role of the national parliaments, of the governments, the member states, to be closer to the citizens and to be able to explain, and not only to explain the European Union has very good projects, but not everybody is understanding. It's necessary to present it to the people by the understandable language.
So we'll cut out the gobbledygook, as we say, but let's come back, if we may, to the Brexit, because that is going to undoubtedly be one of the most important items on the agenda for, presumably, if the forecasts are right, the next 2 years. Now, they haven't pressed the button of Article 50 yet, but presumably that will happen during your presidency. So what is the European Council preparing, if you like, for the day after?
Everybody understands that the European Union is ready for this scenario. We have treaties and there is Article 50. But now everything is in the hands of the British government and in the hands of the British politicians. We need to show our unity and the continuity. This is very important.
You did mention earlier about the single market and broadening the single market. Now, do you see any scenario possible where, as the British are hoping, I believe, that they can stay in the single market and yet have some sort of curb or veto, if you like, on some of the migration?
Instead of negative attitude, we should focus on the positive attitude and to find a way on both sides, because the UK needs the European market and the Europe needs the UK. This is very clear. Now we must be very, very clever, very pragmatic to find a way, how to find the way from this situation. And I'm optimist we will find a way. We need to wait for the certain changes in the UK. We will see who will be the new leader of the Conservative Party, who will be the new Prime Minister of the UK, and then we all together must find a way how to settle this issue.
Right, can we finish on a lighter note? It's customary when you hold the EU presidency to bring your country closer to the countries in which you're represented. So as the ambassador of Slovakia here, I know you've already had a concert, but have you got any cultural activities going on in the next 6 months which will bring the Cypriot people closer to Slovakia?
Oh, definitely. During our concert, we presented a very short documentary, and reaction from the Cypriots was very clear that they would like to visit Slovakia, having the opportunity to see short documentary, 4 minutes documentary. It means for me like encouragement that yes, it is also about the promotion of the country, and I would like to do a lot of presentations. We would like to present not only our culture or our musicians, but also our cuisine. This is also something very special. And of course, I will try to organize some cultural events in order to show or to make bridges in order to connect people. Here in Cyprus, many foreigners are here because it's a tourism destination, and definitely it will have impact on them as well. So we would like to use effectively this unique period for us to present Slovakia as a country with own history, with own culture, and of course as a member state of the European family.
Her Excellency Oksana Tomova talking to us about the Slovakian presidency of the European Union.
Get in touch with the Cyprus News Digest by emailing cyprusnewsdigest@gmail.com.
We have with us on the programme this week the head of communications for the EU area of the British Council. He is Llewellyn Leonard, and he joins us to tell us about a new report that's just come out in the wake of the Brexit. So what was this report? Why did the British Council commission it?
We knew as the 23rd of June approached that we would want to share something with our customers, our staff, our stakeholders, and of course the media in Europe soon after the 23rd of June. And we started to think about the wider picture of the UK and Europe's cultural relationship and what we could possibly put into that space. So after a bit of a brainstorm, we came up with the idea of releasing a report, irrespective of the result, on the 24th of June or soon after. We approached a number of contacts, a number of stakeholders across Europe and in the UK from the worlds and the fields of politics, science and culture, and we asked them to deliberate about what steps need to be taken for the EU-UK cultural relationship to be strengthened in the future. Now, of course, they all wrote before the result was known, so there was a certain amount of looking into the crystal ball with some of them, but we're very pleased with the breadth of essays that we've received, and I think as a whole package, the report, we kind of called the Morning After report, subtitled The Future of the UK's Cultural Relationship with the European Union, is a very interesting read, more so, of course, in light of what's happened after the 23rd of June.
Yes, now the British Council obviously works not just in the EU, it works all over the world, and it has far-reaching contacts in cultural terms pretty well everywhere. But if we now look, knowing the result of the Brexit, is that going to change the British Council's relationship with its EU partners in any way?
Absolutely not. I mean, the door might not be as open quite as much as it was before, and I think one of the great things about my role is that I get to travel around a lot of different countries in the region. It's a big region, it's a diverse region of 30 countries. I think there's a feeling of confusion, a bit of anger, a bit of regret. So we need to double our efforts to make those relationships stick and to set up new relationships as a result of Thursday's result. But, you know, we've been in the European Union, European countries, for over 80 years now. The roots of the organisation actually stem from the rise of fascism in the 1930s in Europe. So certainly we will be trying to do more. We will need to redouble our efforts, very much so. But we certainly won't be stopping, or God forbid, stopping talking to anyone. Now more than ever is the need for organisations like the British Council and for cultural exchange, be it through the arts, science, education or through English language.
Will you be having to think carefully about prioritising who you talk most to? And I'm thinking now in terms of some of the countries that have come out very quickly and said, OK, they want to leave, let them leave, tell them to get on with it. In a sense that seems to be almost a pushback. So are those the areas you need to concentrate more on, or won't it make a difference?
I think the important thing for the British Council is that we do our best to adjust our offer depending on the country. And we can do that because we have been in a number of these countries for so long. Our presence in those countries we are an apolitical organisation. So to a certain amount, we need to put one side what the politicians are saying to one another and focus very much on people-to-people relationships. And our apolitical nature, of course, allows us to do that.
Now, what about the education side of things? Because after a Brexit, an awful lot of EU students will be rethinking where they go to study. And
yes.
That's a big part of the work that the British Council does, isn't it?
Understandably so, and we are both standing in Nicosia, and there's a tremendous amount of Cypriot students who, of course, choose the UK, quite rightly, as a higher education destination. As you can probably appreciate, it's only a few days after the result. There are a whole gamut of fields where we just don't quite know the implications yet. What we're saying to students or parents of students currently is that if you are thinking of applying to attend a UK university in the next academic year, then you should very much still submit that application.
But what would happen if and when the exit finally takes place, let's say in 2 years' time? We don't know, do we, whether or not those students who are entering their third year of a degree are suddenly going to be paying double the price.
It's an exercise in hypotheticals, I'm afraid, at the moment. So what we're doing is, as quickly as we can, we are passing on the information to the people affected.
Let's come back to the report about the morning after. Presumably it's available, is it online? Where can people have a read?
It's on our main britishcouncil.org website. It's also being promoted by our fantastic team here locally in Nicosia, and you can view it at britishcouncil.org.
That's The Morning After, a report commissioned by the British Council. And we were talking to Llywelyn Lennart, who is Head of Communications and Engagement for the European Union for the British Council.
Listen online to the Cyprus News Digest on YouTube or at cyprusmail.libsyn.com. The latest program is uploaded every Friday, and if you missed one, You can catch up there.
Motor journalists in Cyprus had a chance this last week to take Porsche cars up around our rather twisty mountain roads. Yuka Hunkovori is the Porsche driving experience instructor who came to make sure not only that everybody got the most out of the cars they were driving, but they behaved themselves as well. You do this all over Europe, I think. What's the idea behind the Porsche driving experience and the sort of road tests that we did today?
Well, first of all, Porsche is providing all kinds of different trainings around the world. And this time we are having so-called Porsche Road Tour. And this is when we are visiting around 10 countries, mainly in the Eastern European region. And we are providing the existing and potential customers in every country to have a chance to drive the different models and concepts in a safe and very friendly environment.
Today it was the turn of the press in Cyprus, but I think you've been doing it with customers here as well. From your experience, you obviously already have Porsche customers who come and test other models, but how do you get new customers in?
Well, there's always the interest of Porsche. People know Porsche, and there are a lot of people who have been maybe dreaming of driving a Porsche one day. And as you know, at Porsche, it's not always that easy to provide all the different concepts and models at the showrooms. And that's the idea, that Porsche is providing the different markets 1 or 2 weeks that all the cars are here, so that the people who have been thinking of maybe buying one, they can test drive them. And this is often the boost then to really go and buy one. So people often are interested of the brand, interested of the model, but then to do the test drive, that's the final nail on the coffin to really make the decision.
So presumably Porsche realises and has figures to show that this does improve sales.
Yeah, exactly. So this is exactly the reason why we do it, so that people can really test drive them and then decide that this is the car I really want to have.
Okay, let's talk a little about the route and how it was chosen for the Cyprus tour, because, as I mentioned, quite a few twisty mountain bends. Unfortunately, you couldn't do much about the watermelon lorries and the little buses that sometimes got in front and slowed it all down. But how long does it take you to, in a sense, recce a route in a country and decide that this will be the best route on which to take people to show the different abilities of the cars?
Well, obviously, whenever we go to a different country, and we have the locals over there who can give us suggestions, which would be the safe roads, but also the roads that the people can really drive the cars in a way that you can feel the agility and the performance. So therefore, we use often the local people to give us the advice. Then we go and we check it out so that the road is actually safe, there are no holes or anything. And then we decide that it's good to have a bit of a combination of the highway so that they can feel how the car is on the, let's say, normal roads, so that they can have the speed on the straight line. But as we had the mountain roads today, this is really normal that we have, if the country is providing such roads, we often also use them.
So run us through the cars that were on the road for you today, just a little bit about each.
Yeah, so first of all, we wanted to provide you the sports cars, but also the bigger cars. So therefore, we were bringing the most powerful 911, the 911 Turbo S, which is the four-wheel drive, and it is the 580 horsepower car. Then we also provided the new 911 C2S, Carrera 2S, which is rear-wheel drive, but this is now with the new 3-liter twin-turbo engine with 20 horsepower more than the previous one. Then we also had the Panamera SE Hybrid, which is obviously the hybrid engine when you have the electric and the combustion engine together, 416 horsepower. Then we had the Macan S Diesel, which is the sporty SUV, and we really want that car to be here to be test-driven, because this is one of the, let's say, favorite cars in this country. This is the sporty SUV, and therefore it's really good to drive it in the mountain roads. Then we had the Cayenne Turbo S, which is the most powerful Cayenne. And for that, it's really nice to see also that despite the fact that it's a big car, heavy car, you still have the performance and really the agility also in that one.
Even on the narrow mountain roads, well,
Exactly.
That was true enough.
Yeah.
And where are you off to next?
Well, actually, I'm here staying for another week and enjoying the heat. And then I'm taking a flight straight to Malaysia. So we will go to Sepang circuit. And over there, we will have the Porsche World Roadshow, which is very similar kind of an event, but we are only staying on a racetrack.
Now that sounds like real good fun. Well, that about wraps up this edition of the Cyprus News Digest. Many thanks for your company. Hope you'll join me next week. Until we meet again, take care and God bless. Bye-bye now.